Okay, welcome back. Today we're going to just go over some little odds and ends that are really actually very important in putting together InDesign documents. The first thing we're going to do is go in here and place a photo. Let's go to File, Place, and we're going to put in Lindsay Lohan. I'm going to put her picture in here just for fun. Okay? So we'll go ahead and put Lindsay in there. Now you'll see she's looking a little bitter and a little sad, and that's because in just a moment she's going to be changed. Well, one thing that you want to keep track of in InDesign are links, or where these photos are, because this photo isn't actually in InDesign. What it is it's showing a representation of a photo that's held off, on your hard drive somewhere, and it keeps track of that record for you, so that when it goes to the printer or when you send it to a printer, it's going to be able to come up with the proper image to go there. Let's go to Window, though, and in order to see this, we'll go to our links. Now here is our links file. I'm going to close this window here because we don't need that, but go to our links file. We're going to stretch this out, and if we click on one, it will give us where it is. And then if we look here, here's our route. This is telling the computer where the route is, or it's telling the software where the route is to this picture. Okay? So we've got that link in there. Now, we can have multiple things in there. Let's add a second page really fast. Here, we're going to go Command B, and we're going to put Dinah Lohan, Lindsay's mom. We'll put that right here. Okay? A little bit bigger. Apparently her ego is a little bit bigger than Lindsay's. Now you'll notice that this is on page 2, and we'll see it on page 2 here. This is page 1. We see that on page 1. Okay. Now if we grab this and we drag this down behind it, now you'll see that Dinah Lohan is on page 1, Lindsay Lohan is on page 2, and so it will keep track of those pictures. It will also keep track of the location of those by just hovering over. Okay. Now, at this point it's saying everything is okay with this, but what I'm going to do is we're going to go into Photoshop for a moment. Okay, here's our image of Lindsay Lohan. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to change her hair to gray, because she's probably not going to live, depending on if she doesn't change her ways, she's going to end up dying young probably. So what we're going to do is we are going to come here and desaturate her hair. So we're going to give her gray hair. I'm just going to paint it really fast here. I'm going to go ahead and just save it. So we'll File, Save. It's going to automatically save all that information on it. Now, let's go ahead and go back here to Lindsay Lohan. We're going to go to page 2, which is where Lindsay Lohan is. Now, you'll notice that we saved this file, but it didn't change here. InDesign remembers the very last saved version of this file that's in there. So it only remembers the version that has this. What I've got to do is come over here to Lindsay Lohan, okay, and I'm going to click here. This means, oh, there's a problem. It's been modified. It's been changed. So double click to update. Now we'll update that and give you that. If you don't do that, what you will get is a really grainy, low-resolution version of that image, because all it can give you is what it last remembers. So always check and make sure that those links are updated. Okay? Now, let's do a couple of other things here. I want some text to wrap around Lindsay. So what I'm going to do is change the shape of this box a little bit, and I'll get it started, and then we'll jump ahead and you'll see what's going on. In order to do this, I'm going to select a box, get my pen tool, I'm going to add some anchor points, because those will allow me to come in and move some of these shapes around. I can go here. I'm going to get the pen tool, push my Option key because it gives me my Convert tool. Move that around. Drag this here. Now I'm going to bring this down here, and you'll see that it gives you a little bit of a thumbnail so you can kind of see what you're working with. Now, I would normally make this a lot smoother, but this is just to kind of show what we want to accomplish here. So I'm going to jump. Okay, we've got Lindsay Lohan back. What we want to do is run some type around her. Now, remember, we're going to go ahead and create a text box and go to Type, Fill with Placeholder Text. That's going to give us, now it's going to overlap that. If I select Lindsay's image, I can go to my text wrap right here. There's no text wrap. This will wrap around the bounding box, and so you'll see it'll wrap around that box. This, however, and this will separate it right down the middle. This, however, will wrap around the image. And the great thing about that is if you've got it wrapped around that new box shape, that text wrap can go all the way around. Okay? I can come here to my text wrap and I can just increase that just a little bit here and there to give me a little more space. We'll go to View, we'll hide frame edges. Okay, so now you can see that. Now, you can also create a text wrap by creating a box. In this case, we're going to go around Lindsay like this. Okay, we've created that box. We're going to get our text. We're going to click in there. Oops. We'll click on that box. We'll go to Type, Fill with Placeholder Text. It fills it. Now, this does the same thing. It wraps around it as well. But the disadvantage to this is that if I move Lindsay Lohan, if I move this box, let's say, well, in this case, if we move, we're going to take that text wrap off Lindsay for just a moment. If we move Lindsay around, that text box stays the same. But by creating a text wrap with Lindsay, it will push that, and no matter where we take Lindsay, it's going to cause that text wrap around. So that's sort of an advantage. Let's go back to our view and show our edges again. That's sort of an advantage to creating a text wrap around a dynamic image like Lindsay. Okay. Now we've got all of these things here. Okay. And the next thing we want to do is we want to prepare this for well, I guess one other thing we want to do is this. Let's go ahead and I'm going to take, we're going to add one more picture in here. We'll create a third page. This will just be to illustrate something. Go to File, Place, here we go, Jacob Marley Finish. So we'll put that in here. Okay. Now, one last thing I want to show you with type, and we should have done this before, but I guess I forgot. So, I want type to flow around the edge of his head. So I'm going to create a path around the edge of that head to right here. Something like that. Okay? I'll get my type tool, go to Type on a Path. And click here and type Marley was as dead as a doornail. Okay? Now you can see where it changes direction, it causes some problems, but we can create any shape we want with the pen tool and then be able to go in and adjust that and type on it. You know, we can go in and type and we can change the shape of things so that we can get it to fit maybe a little bit better, things like that. Okay? So that's just a side note that I want you to remember, is to be able to how to run text like that. Now this file is called jacobmarleyfinish.tiff. So let's go here. We've got to go to our screen here and see if we can find Jacob Marley Finish. Now this is going to be a little tough. Here we go, jacobmarleyfinish.tiff. I'm going to drag this over into the work file and leave it in there. Okay, so let's move that file over there. Now, here's something that's kind of interesting about our images. InDesign remembers where Jacob Marley was, but now we've got this question mark. What in the world? Where it's missing? Okay, okay? Because it remembers this image being on the desktop. Well, now that image is over here in work, and so we have to redirect it. And this is the very same as if you're doing HTML programming. You've got to direct it to exactly where things are located. So I've got to come here and double click on this, and now I've got to find where this is. If I go to work, then I can see, oh, here we go, Jacob Marley finished, open, and now we'll restore it to where it was. Now it's important that you do that, because if you don't do that, it's going to give you a grayscale image, and then you're going to be in trouble. Or not a gray, I'm sorry, not a gray. It's important to do that, because if you don't do that, what it's going to give you is a low resolution version, because it can't remember where the high resolution version was. Okay. Now there are two ways to save InDesign. Now, if we think about this as if we were making apple crisp, for example, I can either get all the ingredients and I can take them to my neighbors or my cousins and cook everything there, right? But if I forget something for the apple crisp, like apples, I have to hope that either they have those apples there, or there's a grocery store, or I have to go back and get them. Or the other thing I can do is get everything packaged. I can take that whole document, all of the InDesign pages, and I can, well, let's start over. I can take all of that, all those ingredients, the apples, the oatmeal, the sugar, lots of sugar and lots of butter, and mix all of that and get it all in a pan and ready to go, and then take it to a neighbor's to cook. Well, InDesign is very much like that. You have all these different ingredients. You have text, you have images, you have colors that you may have created, all these different things that are part of it, and all the layout for it. And that's basically a recipe. So you have two options of being able to export it. One, or being able to save it. One is like putting it all, making it all, premixing it, and putting it in a cooking pan. And that's when you go ahead and go to File, Export. And you're going to do your Adobe PDF presets. Do a high quality print, which is one that people could print out. Press quality, which is would save it appropriate for an offset press. Or smallest file size, which will give you low resolution versions of all the image, but high resolution versions of the type. In this case, I'm just going to save it as smallest file size, because it's just for time. And I'm going to go ahead and save this on my desktop, and we'll call this last lesson.pdf, and save it. Now you'll see that it's going to, I can export all the pages, or pages 1 through 3, and I'm just going to hit export. It says there's overset text on pages 2, which means that some of the text is being hidden. I'm not worried about that, but that's a warning to say, oh, you're losing some of your text. I'm not going to worry about that. I'll hit OK. Now if it's missing images, or if there are image links that are missing, then you're going to be in trouble, and it's going to identify that for you. The other thing you can do, the other way to save it, is to package it all. I'm going to take all those apples, I'm going to take all that sugar, cream, everything, and I'm going to put it in a package or in a box or a bag or something like that. I'm going to take it to my neighbors and make it there. What this does, when you package this, it takes all of these ingredients and it puts them in a nice, neat little bundle that you can take. So we'll go to File, Package, and it'll give us a summary. We can give information with it. It tells us the fonts that are in there, the images that are in there, and so on. We'll go ahead and package this. Well, we need to save it. Of course, so we'll save it in as our desktop, last lesson.InDesign. And then it'll give us instructions that we can give. You know, this is a 2-color print, Pantone 485 and Pantone 282. You need to call Howard Fulmer at UVU, and so on. We'll hit save. We'll call it last lesson folder. We'll package it. PDF file in Acrobat. That's going to give us all the pages. So we can go from one page to the next, And we're going to see it all exactly as it is. Now, the great thing about this is it will save all your pictures, it will save all your type, it will save all of this in a book format in the exact layout that you made in InDesign. The disadvantage of AppleCrisp, putting it all together, if there are changes you want to make, it's too late, because you've got it all packaged. Okay? But this is handy for sending a document to a client, or sending something to the printer if you know everything is right. Now let's go to our last lesson folder. We'll open up that, and it's going to give us all of our information. Let's go to our icon view. Here are document fonts. Here's our last lesson InDesign document. Here are the links. These are the 3 photos. Here's our instructions, and then here are fonts that we used. Now, if I send this to the printer or send it somewhere, they have the document, they have all the links and all the fonts and everything, so that if there are changes that need to be made, this is a little more flexible. But if you don't want someone to touch or change your work, then of course InDesign is a better way. Or if you're sending something over the internet just as an email attachment, sometimes InDesign, it's better to send it as a PDF version. Okay? Alright, now there are a couple of things that we're going to show you, and then we're going to wrap this up. Okay? First of all, let's go to this right here. What this does is it allows us to change page sizes. Okay? We can click on this. Currently our page is 8.5 by 11, but I can change this to, let's say, width of 5 inches by 8 inches. And what that does is now that changes that page here to a 5 by, actually it doesn't look like it changed it all the way. Let's go here and change it 5 by 8. Yeah. Oh, yes it did. So we've got a 5 by 8 page here. Now you'll notice that it's a different size than the others. In fact, we'll zoom out like that, and you can see the changes. The advantage to this is that I can create an envelope, a letterhead, a business card, a postcard, all these things in the same file. Prior to this, you used to have to do a separate file for a business card because you got 2.5 by 3 or 2 by 3.5 inches. A separate card for an envelope, or a separate document for letterhead, separate document for a postcard, and it was just kind of management-wise a hassle. But now, with your page size tool, you can come in here and I can change this to landscape. And so I can have multiple pages and designs, or multiple layouts within the same document. And it saves me logistically a lot of hassle. Okay? Then finally the last thing is this. We have File, Print. And there are a couple of things that I want you to notice. First of all, this is our general setup. You print all the pages 1 to 3 or something like that. But if we go to marks and bleeds, what this does is this creates crop marks that you can cut things out on, or bleed marks, or things like that, that will allow you to go in and know where to crop an image. Let's do this. Let's go to, I'm going to print just page 3. So File, Print. Now, our page size is 8.5 by 11, or at least that's what the printer is, right? So, but we're just going to print page 3. And there's where we are right there. That's the size of the page within the page that's going to be printed on the document. Now I want to go to Setup, and I'm going to position this centered right there. Now if I want to bleed, if this is a case where if I wanted something to bleed off, I would have that area, I would print outside of that, and then I would go ahead and go to my marks. I would put crop marks in there, and that gives me little marks where it's going to cut off, or it tells me I can trim that down to the exact size. Bleed marks are right here. Here's where the bleed is going to go to. Registration marks if you're working with something like t-shirts and screen printing and stuff like that. This is a great way to solve that. So, and then you can print, and it will print out those bleed marks. Okay. There are also other things here like output, composite, CMYK. You could also do separation, so it'll print out just a cyan, plate, a magenta, and so on. Just different things like that. So you look through here, and you can go ahead, and it gives you information about it, all that, and then you can go ahead and print. So that's kind of the last thing that we want to show you, and then